guys, welcome back to my channel, Health Layer Dr. Randy here. So today is Super Bowl Sunday, that's right. So I decided to make a little video dedicated to football, all the football players, people who want to play football or have ever played football or even just sit in the couch and watch football. So today, before you start watching the Super Bowl, make sure you watch this video, like and comment below, subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my stuff that's coming up soon, and let's get right into it. I myself will be watching the Super Bowl today with my family. We have a huge barbecue get together and I'm really excited. As you can see, I'm sporting my Miami Dolphins shirt. I know they're not playing and no, they're not my favorite team. I don't have favorites, but I am from Miami, so I thought I'd represent. Plus it's orange and the UM is a little orange, so gotta represent that too. Alright, so American football. American football is the most popular sport in the United States of America. You have about 1 million high school players, about 70,000 collegiate, and 2,000 professional football players annually, participating annually. That's a lot of people playing football. And I know that when I talk about exercise and movement, there are all these benefits. But did you know that there's also benefits to playing in a team sport? Team sport is crucial, especially for kids that are growing up. So I'm going to talk about some of those benefits as well. But could there be a little more than what meets the eye? Hello? Yeah, obviously there's always more than meets the eye. So I thought that with Super Bowl Sunday being today, it'd be a great topic to tackle. No pun intended. Wait, pun intended. Okay, so now we're going to get straight into it. Alright, obviously there are tons of benefits to participating in sports. Like I always say, exercise is really good for you, movement is good for you, but what are these really good for? And what are the actual benefits of being on a team sport rather than an individual sport? And we'll get right into those. So we have basic things that all exercise have in common. You have weight management, you have increased concentration, improved mood, you also have improved glucose tolerance or insulin response. This is really good for your body. It's good for diabetics to engage in exercise just because it improves the way that their body receives insulin and reacts to insulin. It's also great for your mental health improvement. We all know exercise releases our own body's endorphins, which is kind of like morphine, our own body's morphine, and so we're going to feel happy, we're going to get euphoric in a way. So exercise is good for all these things. But what about the things that are not necessarily health related but are more socially related? Alright, so when you're growing up as a kid, there's a lot of bullying, but when you become part of a team sport, you feel a sense of belonging, and you create all these, like a camaraderie almost, and you create these relationships and you rely on each other and you protect each other, and so in a way it sets the space for you to feel safe, and it also improves your self-confidence, which is something that a lot of kids growing up have difficulty with. Two more things that it actually improves is your work ethic and your discipline. Obviously when you're in a team sport, you have to show up, you gotta wake up early, you gotta eat the right things, you gotta go to summer camp and the training, and you gotta participate in all the trainings, otherwise you don't get to play in the real thing. So you have to be disciplined. You have to wake up early. You have to show up every single day, every practice, don't miss a game. That shows you discipline. It improves your work ethic because you have to show up no matter what. And these are things that you're going to need in real life situations, because in real life you gotta show up, and if you don't show up, you miss out. And so this is a great way for your kid to learn these things. Okay, so now these are all the benefits, but what about health implications? Are there any? Are there any health implications to participating in a team sport like American football? Obviously there are. Like in any other thing that you continuously do, repetitive movements, any sport is associated with their own risks. Now obviously injuries are one of the most common. You have spinal injuries, you have obviously you tears in your ligaments in your ACL, you have lower extremity injuries, you could have fractures, you can have concussions. There are tons of things that are actually injuries caused by the tackling and this type of sport that you're playing. Now, there's something also to remember, that the type of position you play in the team also determines the types of things you are more likely to have. So for example, the defensive line and the offense line, the linebackers basically, they're on the line, so they need a lot of power and thrust, and they need to have all these like short and strong pushes so you get to protect your quarterback from getting sacked. I know it's a little bit of sports lingo, I know my football, I'm not a huge football fanatic, I'm more football, but you know, I do like sports in general, I love watching them, so I do know my lingo, I guess, a little bit. Okay, so if you want to protect your quarterback from getting sacked, you have to push away the offensive line. So what happens? These are the guys that are really big. They had to be big because they're protecting your quarterback. They gotta be big, they gotta push. They're always in these weird strenuous positions. It strains their back, it strains their shoulders, strains their knees and their ankles. So obviously you're going to be prone to these kinds of injuries. On top of that, because these linebackers are so big, then they have an increased BMI. Did you guys know the linemen have BMIs that in general population are classified as obese? Yeah, BMI over 30. These linemen, obviously they're engaged in exercise when they're participating in the training and all that stuff. So they're going to have improved glucose tolerance, low cholesterol, they're going to have all these things. But because they have high BMIs, they're going to have things that are associated with high BMIs, and that includes sleep disorders. So something like OSA or obstructive sleep apnea, which usually happens to older gentlemen who are overweight or even younger people who are just overweight. It collapses your respiratory path, and so that way you start snoring and you stop breathing, called apnea, and then all of a sudden you wake up snoring and you're gasping for air because you haven't been breathing for a few seconds. Now, the consequences of this is you have decreased concentration during the day. You can be moody. Obviously, when your sleep is affected, other stuff starts getting affected. You can even feel depressed. Okay, so that's just one of the things that, the players who are linemen are prone to getting. But what about the non-linemen? The kickers, the runners, the ones that go and catch the ball and the quarterback. They're going to have tons of other kinds of injuries because they're moving fast at really high speeds, and all of a sudden they're going to change position. They're going to pivot on their knees and their ankles. They're going to have these tackles. They're going to be tackled at their knees. They're going to be tackled at their legs and their backs. So what's going to happen? They're going to be hyperextending their back. They're going to be hyperextending their joints. They're going to be twisting and turning. They can have dislocations. They can have tears in their ACL, which is the most common ligament to be torn in the knees. So these players are damaging their bodies to give us entertainment and to help their own team win. So the next time you're watching a football game, don't just be like, oh, he got hit so hard. Be like, oh God, I hope he didn't get injured, because his career will be over and that's the end of that. So when it comes to these sports, I know we love watching and it's entertaining for us when they fly in the air and they flip and they do all these crazy things, but it's not fun for them because one concussion can increase your risk of suicide threefold, and that's regardless of whether or not you have any psychiatric history. So I bet you guys didn't know that. So these kinds of things are really, really important when you're playing a sport. Each sport has its own risks and benefits. Obviously, you're participating in exercise, so it's gonna be super beneficial for you. It's good for your blood pressure and cardiovascular health. But is it? So did you guys know that for people who are linebackers, because their BMIs are so high and they have these sleep disorders, they can also suffer from hypertension? There was a study that was done, and it turns out that pre-season they're normotensive, meaning they have normal blood pressure, and then post-season they have hypertension. And then later on, these players also have coronary artery disease. So these are things that happen in older age in general, period. Because it happens when your lifestyle behaviors are not as good as they should be. Eating healthy, exercising regularly. But what happens when you're the linebacker? You're supposed to be big. You can't just all of a sudden become, the figure of a kicker, because then they're gonna run you over. They're gonna bulldoze over you. So you gotta be big, gotta be hefty. And so we are promoting these behaviors to excessively eat and gain all this weight so you can be the best linebacker ever. So you can protect that quarterback from being sacked, or so you can push through the defensive line and sack that quarterback so you can get your score. So what happens? You are putting your health at risk. These are things that we don't think about because it's a sport, and different positions have different kinds of injuries, and these are really important to remember. So in a country like America, where we play tons of football and we watch tons of football, the next time you see it, why don't you kind of think about what might be happening? Now, I don't want you guys to be like, ooh, so I can't play football, my kids can't play football. No, that shouldn't deter you from enjoying the activity. Flag football is a really, really healthy alternative to not getting tackled. A lot of kids get tackled and they get injured because they're younger, they're developing, their bones aren't as strong, they're not as, physically able to take these tackles off. So I don't want you guys to get the idea that I'm saying don't play football. Not at all. Just be conscientious that certain behaviors, it's kind of like gymnasts and ballerinas. It's a beautiful sport, but because they're putting their bodies through repetitive movements, they're gonna have a lot of injuries in their joints and a lot of pains. And so it just comes with the territory. Gymnasts have the same problem, a lot of fractures. So you just have to realize that each sport has its own risk. Obviously, when you play it professionally, not just for fun anymore, the more you play it, you're increasing your risk of injury because you're participating more in it. Obviously, if you never play football in your life, you're not going to get a concussion unless someone just bashes your head with a bat or something. But, I mean, these are things that you got to think about. Also, back in the day, concussions weren't really something that they knew very much about. So they thought, oh, you concussed, you're a little groggy, okay, it's fine. Sleep it off, tomorrow you play again. No, nowadays there's a lot of protection. A player that's been concussed, they have to lay off the game a few days. They have to go, go to the doctor, get really evaluated. They got to wait. So these are things that you really got to consider, you got to think about as well. Okay, because the sport itself is great for you. You have to play sports, but play other sports as well. Make sure that you're getting your heart the cardiovascular exercise that it needs. If you are a linebacker in high school or in college or professional, make sure you engage in other cardiovascular activities to make sure that you give your heart the protection that it needs. So if you guys have any questions, comments at all. If you liked it, if you hated it, it's okay, it's all fine with me. Make sure to comment below. I love being able to share these videos with you. I know I haven't done it in a while, but as it happens, life happens, duh. And so I haven't been able to post as much as I wanted, but I am trying my best to be able to deliver a video to you guys once a week. Okay, so next week I will see you guys. I don't know what I'll talk about then. Maybe Valentine's Day? I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys let me know in the comments below. Okay, hope you guys enjoy your Super Bowl Sunday. Eat a lot of stuff, healthy stuff, right? And then don't drink and drive. Obviously, everyone's gonna be at the football game. If you are, make sure you're hydrating. And I kind of like this because if it gets too hot, you gotta spray yourself. Ooh, I didn't expect that. All right, so you guys have a good weekend.